Hey, what's up everybody? It is Kellen from RacerX again, this week with another race examination from Tampa. We're going to take a look at a couple things this week. The first thing I wanted to look at is this first lap incident between Zach Osborne and Jason Anderson, because I really couldn't figure out what had happened. But if you look at it back again in slow motion here real quick, it almost looks like because they almost hit when they check each other on the landing there, Osborne gets a little off balance and loses his hand on his clutch, I think. And that's why he jumps a little deep into the corner, but a really strange start to the race and obviously cost both of them a lot of time. But obviously one of the biggest talking points on the night was the sand section, which caught a lot of people out, including Eli Tomac here, the lap before he passed Adam Cianciarulo for the lead. Very out of shape in the sand section, so let's take a look at what happened here. Coming out, he kind of catches the rut a little wrong on the double in and ends up a little off balance. So the rut that he landed in should end up going a little bit to the right, but he actually ends up going kind of straight over it, and it actually pitches his balance off to the other direction, and he cross ruts a little bit, lands even more sideways in the second transition. It throws him back to the other side, so he's just kind of going back and forth, and at this point it's just Mr. Toe's wild ride as he tries to save it, and fortunately he does and catches up to Cianciarulo at the exit of the sand, which then he will pass him on the next lap in the exact same section. Gets the sand a little bit cleaner this time. Still not great, but just enough that he can pull alongside, go around the outside of the sand, and that was good enough to make the pass for the lead, and on his way he would go. And speaking of the pass for the lead, wanted to really quickly highlight that kind of the difference between inside in the sand versus outside in the sand, because inside was the preferred option. Guys were taking the inside a lot more often during the evening, and Tomac was able to figure out this outside line, but the difference was the inside was actually closer to the pole when the main event started, and you can see now that the berm was pushed further and further out, and it created this really soft, loamy berm that they were laying into that had a big notch in it. So when Cianciarulo goes to the inside here to defend, it actually buries the bike in, and he loses a big chunk of time that allows Tomac to swing around the outside and eventually make the pass on Cianciarulo for the lead. Now, next up, I want to talk about Adam Cianciarulo's wild ride through the whoops when he was in second, potentially on his way to yet another podium finish, but obviously crashing here, he would finish down in the 8th place position. Now, AC actually told our Steve Mathis that he had to switch up his line in the whoops because of Kyle Cunningham being down the right side, and that is what ultimately led to his crash. What went wrong here was essentially the 4th whoop in line. So you can see right here as we slow it down, his front tire catches a notch just a little wrong. The bars turn slightly, and now he's leaning to the right as well as the bars going right, and it's basically just downhill from there where it's dragging him to the right side of the track. If he was further on the left side of the track, he could have maybe corralled it together because he almost got it back before he ended up going into the tough blocks. But a wild ride that ends up with him on the ground and dropping down in the field. Another small mistake for Cianciarulo, and they're starting to cost him a little bit as the series moves on. So the last thing I wanted to take a look at was in the 250 main event where Jordon Smith got the sand all wrong. Very similar situation to Tomac, although this one cost Smith a lot more time because he ended up going off the racetrack and having to corral it together. Sand was catching out people all night long, but Smith here you can see kind of like scrubbing the double in, landing in between ruts, so he should be able to just go straight here, but because his momentum is carrying him over to the right a little bit, he actually lands in cross ruts, and if he was going a little bit faster, this could have been a lot worse, but he's able to kind of just land it sideways in transition and jump off the left side of the track. Fortunate not to run into any track workers or anybody on the other side of the track there, just kind of crowded together. And the sand was catching people out all night long, but it did not stop Eli Tomac or Shane McElrath from winning, and that's just a couple talking points from Tampa.